Okay, so I'm just going to go through some basic setup steps for your museum project, and so I'm going to start with a new project on the welcome screen here. I'll just use this shortcut to create a new file with the architectural template. So always make sure you use the architectural template to start your new projects, and it's going to create a new file in a moment. It's a little bit slow today. There we go. And so bearing in mind the four elevation views that we have there, north, south, east and west, I want to start drawing within that area there, and I'm using the existing drawings that you've been given as a reference. And so if you don't have access to that, there's a copy that I've placed on the P drive here. So if you go to the Student Resources drive or the P drive, and then Interior Design and Design Visualizations, and then I've made a folder called Museum Project Resources, where you'll see this file, Museum Existing Plan 2015. And so referring to that, we have the overall dimensions there, which is a really good starting point. And so the width there you can see is 11.506. So the person doing the measuring up there maybe has gone and so you've taken things a bit too far with the detail. You would normally round that off, but we use that dimension anyway. So 11.506 is the first critical dimension, and I'm going to begin with a reference plane. On the Architecture tab, you'll see towards the right-hand side of the ribbon there, you have the Work Plane panel, where you'll find the reference plane tool, if you haven't used that recently. And I'm just going to draw a vertical reference plane inside those four elevation views and crossing the section line. So I'm going to start above and then take it down below that section line, and then I'm going to come over to the right and just roughly make it 11 metres or so to the right of that first reference plane, and draw a new one there. And now, because I have that dimension that's come up between the two reference planes, I can select that and change it to 11.506. So I'm going to press Escape a couple of times, then to deselect those two reference planes, and then holding down Control, you can select multiple objects. So I've selected the two reference planes, and I'm simply going to use the arrows on the keyboard to roughly centre those reference planes so that they're either side of the two north and south elevation views. And then I'll come back and draw some new reference planes. So I'm just going to take one below the section line and make sure it crosses over the other two reference planes. And then referring back to this image now, you can see that we don't actually have an overall dimension going the other way. We've got two interior dimensions. And so I'll begin with the first one. So it's 839. So I'm simply going to draw a reference plane above the first one, not worrying too much about the dimension there. And so again, using that dimension that's come up between the two, if that's gone, you can always select one of the reference planes again. So I've cancelled the command by pressing Escape, and now I can select that reference plane and use that dimension again. So it's 8839. And now I need to use a bit of judgment there, and I'm going to assume that this is a solid brick wall, since we don't have any other information. And so if it's an interior solid brick wall, that'd make it 830. I'm sorry, what did I say? 230, because it's two skins of brickwork plus line of render. So I'll draw a new reference plane above that last one and make that dimension between them 230. And then this last dimension 2362. And just to give you a tip, if you're doing your own measurements in future, I would always round those off to the nearest 5mm. Builders don't tend to work any more accurately than that, so it's not much point having measurements like this, but again, that's what we've been given, so we'll use this. So again, 2362. And you can see there that I didn't draw that one very neatly, so I'm just going to drag that grip over so that it lines up with the others, and you can see when it gives you the extension line that it's lined up with the ends of your other reference planes. Not essential, but it just helps to keep things neat. And I'll tidy up these others so that they're a little bit shorter. And I've drawn them. Okay, so I've got the outline of that interior space there, and so now I might just go ahead and draw in the all of the exterior walls, and then we'll come back to do the level below afterwards. So here they're called level 2 and level 1, but really this is your ground level, the entry level that you come in from the footpath onto level 2, and so that's the level I'll start with. And so I'm just going to use the wall tool, and I'm going to go to the generic wall rather than using the other option, which would be double brick. So I'd be pretty sure the building is cavity brickwork or double brick, but you, for your design drawings, don't want to show too much detail for the existing walls, so it's often better to use a simple wall like this, generic 300mm, and then if you need to later you can always add more detail to that. And then the height I'll set to level 1, and the location line I'll set to finish face interior, because again, looking at the base drawing, you can see that we've got interior dimensions there. So whenever you have interior dimensions, you should be using finish face interior to draw your walls. And now I can simply trace using the intersections of those reference planes, making sure that you draw clockwise. So here I'm going to go around all 4 corners there, and that gives us the overall set out for that space. And then you can see you have this area here that may be a courtyard, or it might just be a void, where we have these extra walls that we'll need to add. And you can use reference planes to do that, as I've done previously, but I just want to show you, you can do it simply using walls. You don't always need to use reference planes. They're just an aid to help you, and they're not necessary to set out accurate measurements. And so here, I'm having trouble reading that, I think it's 3.92. And then we've got the other dimension there that's maybe a little bit easier to read, 2.5. So I'll go with that one, and then we can use the other one to check if we've got it right. So it's again 2.5mm from this wall that we've already set out using the reference planes there. So I'll go and draw a new wall now, and you can see then, if I zoom in, that it's going to set out a measurement from the reference plane above. If I zoom out and make it so that I can see the wall above that reference plane, it'll give me a dimension from there. So the way that Revit sets out your dimensions is a little bit unpredictable. There's a logic to it, but in most cases it'll go to or set out from a wall if you're drawing a wall. But if there are no walls, when you're zoomed in there, or when I'm zoomed in, there are no walls for it to measure from, so it's going to measure from the reference plane. And so that's a bit of a tip. When you zoom in, you can limit the objects that you're measuring in relation to. And so here I'll just draw from the edge there. I'm not worried too much about having an accurate measurement there anyway. And now going to the right, you can see that it's giving me a wall that's going above the line that I'm drawing. So all of these little things you'll find when you're drawing things like walls, you'll often learn by experience, but it can help to have these little pointers along the way. And so in this case, it's because I'm drawing again clockwise, and the interior face is therefore on the bottom edge of the wall. I want the interior face to be on the top of the wall, so I'm going to use the toggle by pressing the space bar. So using the space bar, you can flip the wall from one side to the other as you draw it. And so just think about what's happening there, and the fact that the interior face now is on the top, and that's of course the way we want this wall to be constructed. And I'm then just going to come down and draw a wall at 90 degrees or perpendicular to the previous one, and then come back to the left and touch the wall on the left hand side. So now I want to put in those measurements, and if I select the first wall, I can then change the measurement from that reference plane. So remembering, if I'm zoomed out and I select that wall, it's going to give me a dimension to the wall. But if I zoom in so that I can only see the reference plane, it'll give me a dimension to the reference plane. So it's 2500. The next measurement is from the outside corner to the other outside corner. In other words, from what's really the interior face to the interior face. So that's 2.15. And if I select this wall here, you can see it's going to give me a dimension for the what's really the exterior, or the outside, but it's the interior between these two walls. And so rather than use that measurement, I'm going to go and draw a new dimension. And so one way of doing that is to go to the Annotate tab and use the Aligned tool. And there, just make sure you know about this option here. That's the main thing people forget when they're drawing dimensions, that you need to change the option here to wall faces. And there, I'm just going to pick the top of this first wall and then the bottom of the other wall there, and place that measurement actually to the left there on the outside. I want it out of the way. And now we can put in that measurement. So I can select this lower wall, remembering the first wall there is where I want it to be. So I'm not going to select that wall, I want to move the wall below. And now I can click on the dimension to change that to 2150. And then we can zoom out, and by selecting this wall now, I can see, well, there's been some error in the maths there. So 3.92, I think there's a little bit of adding up that people maybe need to do there to check that. So that's something you can check with Dyna. I'm just going to leave it, I think, as that for now, and check the dimension going the other way. So looking at this measurement here, 2720. Okay, so again, if I select this wall, it's going to give me that internal measurement, and I don't want to use that, so I'm going to go and draw my own new dimension using that interior face of the wall and going to the other interior face. So again, we'll make that now 2720. So by selecting this wall, now I can change that measurement. Right, so then finally I want to break this wall on the left hand side. So on the Modify tab you'll find the Split Element tool, and I'm simply then going to click on the middle of this wall roughly to break it into two pieces, and now I can use Trim to Corner to join that at the top and the bottom, and we've got the basic layout for that, for the exterior walls on that level. And just to finish it off, I might just join a few more walls, the remaining walls that we have there. So you have the dimension, or the wall that I've set out with the dimensions going across. So back to architecture, I'll draw a new wall. We want that to be 230, and you'll see in your list of wall types that you do have well, you've got a couple of walls that are 230. You've got the block veneer wall and you've got the solid brick wall. But I don't want to use any of those because those walls have pre-assigned materials. So I want to do something similar to what I have with this generic 300mm wall. So I'm going to copy that wall to begin with. I'm going to go to Edit Type, Duplicate, and I'll call my new wall generic 230mm wall. Edit the structure, and then change the thickness of that obviously to 230. And then I'm going to draw along that that reference plane. So I'll go along the bottom one all the way to the right. And then unfortunately we don't have dimensions for these other spaces. So all we can do there is set them out roughly, and so that's what I'll do. And so by eye, I'm going to draw some new walls. Just pressing Escape in between, cancel, and start a new wall. And then we may even have a wall at the top of the stairs there, but we'll maybe do that when we draw the stairs. So these walls here, which should be either side of the entry, you can easily adjust the position once you have the accurate measurements for those. But then you can see also that they're broken, and so again I'll just use the Split Element tool to break those for now. I'm just going to click on a point within the middle of those two walls, and then again cancelling, so I can select those walls. I'm going to drag the ends back, again just by eye since we don't have any measurements there. And there we are. So that's going to give you the basic layout you have for that level. And in the next video I'll do the set out for the levels. But that's a really good starting point anyway. So make sure you save that project. Save this into my own folder. Not as a JPEG file, make sure you save it as an RVP file. And there we are. Restart.